Welcome back to both Limerick City Community Radio Kickstart Your Week and the Have a Life While Making a Living YouTube channel. I have another wonderful guest here live with me, Seamus Power, all the way from Lucan, County Dublin. And Seamus is a founder of Powering Health and is also a heart math expert, and he'll let you know what that means, because I'm going to just explain it wrong. I know he's involved in a thing called positive intelligence, which I don't know too much about, and he also runs a retreat which is called Step Away for a Day, of which he has regular occurrences during the year, which I had the pleasure to attend last year. So I sit here with a bit of knowledge what that is actually all about, Seamus. So Seamus, welcome to the channel.
Yeah, thank you so much, Patrick. That's a lovely introduction. Looking forward to having the chat.
Yeah, same here, same here. So tell us a bit about your background, where you come from. Have you always been powering health, or is there a story and a journey?
Of course, there's a story. Everyone has a story, and yeah, I'm no different. And what I'm doing now is very different than what I originally started off with. And I suppose going back to my teen years, going to go back that far. It's around lack of clarity, lack of real confidence in myself, and really any clear direction about what I wanted to do with my life. And I'm seeing that so much still with many young people, and even some of my clients today are young people who I work with, who come through concerned parents. And that was me back in my teens, about, a bit of anxiety, self-esteem, and just trying to figure out my way in the world, basically. That's still a common theme for many young people. Mm-hmm. And eventually I figured out what I wanted to do based on my subjects in secondary school. Okay. So I enjoyed physics, and my brothers had studied electronics. So that's kind of how clueless I was. I just wasn't, they had no clear passion, no idea. So I just, let's go with physics, and I went and studied a course in electronics in Carlow RTC. So I'm from Kilkenny originally, and I went to the RTC in Carlow and had, enjoyed the course. I found myself again, through no particular plan, finding a lovely job at 22 years of age in Dublin in a company called Bull Information Systems, and fixing computers for a living for a year. And I just loved it. Everything was fantastic about that role. Life was good. I was getting, things were beginning to fall into place. But again, there was always this underpinning of some level of disconnect with really who I was and what it was about, my own identity. So on the face of it, and I think a very common theme, people are living this life with, good income, they're good jobs. On the face of it, everything is good, but there's still something underneath. Even I can still feel that back in my, from my teens and my 20s and even into my 30s. Something there that was holding me back. There's some sort of restriction or lack, and that's the only way I can describe it. And again, it's kind of this whole Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of thing. On the outside, wonderful job, wonderful career, company car, enjoying life, really had great friends, but still that sense of something missing, and that has persisted for a long time. So I went on the company, the typical career path for many people. So the whole IT industry changed in the late 90s. I went and joined a wonderful company called Compaq. We're opening a European Support Centre here in Dublin. And that was a real pivot and a change in my life, because I went from being the techie and the guy who fixed computers to be the problem solver and solving those technical problems, into a role that I had the opportunity to lead the small team that I was a member of in Compaq. And, again, no particular ambition, no ambition at all, really, to actually lead a team or be a supervisor or manager, because it was back to that self-doubt. Oh, well, how could I ever lead a team? How could I do this? It was always at that sense of lack, still very much to the fore, knowing that I was the techie, that was my identity. But then that opportunity just opened the door rapidly, so rapidly. I suddenly got that boost of self-confidence. Oh, do you know what? I'm leading this team. Do you know what? I can do it. I'm actually good at it, and I'm enjoying it. So it was amazing how that changed really me and my journey within myself and my relationship with myself. Because now I went from, just being the techie into, oh, wow, do you know what? There is a bigger world out here. So I began to really enjoy that experience, and it was a real boost in confidence, and I suppose boosting ego, if I'm being honest about it as well. That your income was improving, your responsibilities were extending, and you're continuing to build that whole sense of your identity and confidence and about who you were. And that, again, through that journey, very, very rapid change in the IT industry from late 90s into 2002. There was mergers and acquisitions, and ultimately was purchased by Hewlett Packard. And then that led to another real rapid change. And within a couple of years, I found myself again, through no particular plan, almost by accident, very much being in the right place at the right time through all that change and churn in the industry, to be the director of our global PC division in our customer services team. And again, working morning, noon, and night. And that led kind of to another pivot of, you know what, I'm getting migraines, I'm working morning, noon, and night. My personal life is suffering. So the ego, the boost, all the kind of the confidence that was being generated in the job was impacting my personal life. And
yeah, sorry to interrupt, but that sounds like the traditional route to success to me. Yeah.
Like on the face of it, success is fantastic out here, but there's a downside of that success, and I think that's a real practical reality for many people. I think is that lack of balance and blend, because you get so positively reinforced. That's my own experience of the career journey. Then you kind of you lose that any sense or maybe lack of reinforcement around your ego, your confidence in your personal life. And the two kind of go in opposite directions. And I think that's a really practical problem for many people. And again, that's why, in my current work, I think that experience, I've been there, I've experienced it, I've felt it. And it's something that really motivates me now. Years later, when I began to establish Powering Health, my journey was really part of, what the service I'm currently offering now is around having been that soldier on that journey, and then with the benefit of hindsight, being able to actually look back and make sense of it all, I guess, when you've gone through that journey and begin to reflect and learn from, as Jameen would say, in the positive intelligence side, it's everything, there's no good, there's no bad. It's, things happen, and everything is fuel to future, everything is fuel that you can use to fuel your future, I guess,
But was the migraines and stuff, was that enough as a pivot or as a catalyst, or was there other stuff?
Sorry, which, Patrick?
The migraines and the
was
that enough of a catalyst, or?
Oh no, that was a huge catalyst. Absolutely. I mean to say that was another big pivot, like the same as I described earlier. That was a huge pivot as regards, this was the wake-up call. This was the time to actually, really reflect on, heed your warning signs, basically. And that's it came back with clarity, so I had to really begin to think about how I was feeling in the executive role, in the director role. I was like a fish out of water when I began to think about it. And that's where I began to make specific concrete steps, do a little bit of reading, and finally connect with who Seamus really was, what I was about, and what I really stood for, and what was important to me. And that kind of came back into Step Away Per Day as well, years later, as the beginning of a journey around, it's time for me now to take stock, breathe, and slow down and connect, and really begin to assess, what's it all about, basically, and maybe confront the bigger questions, which most people eventually do, I think, in their lives anyway, and then figure out what's really important. And that was the change for me. So I read a couple of books at the time, one in particular by a guy called Bruce Lipton, and that was the kind of the change into my relationship with psychology and passion for psychology. And I read a couple of books at that time, another one by Ian Robertson around mind sculpture. He is a professor in Trinity. And I decided then, after a couple of years, this was about 2007. So in 2010, I took the decision, as part of my own plan to rebalance, to step away from the long, busy work days, to take an undergraduate degree in the humanities course in Dublin City University. And that happened over 6 years. So I studied psychology, philosophy, and sociology. And my God, that was a huge part of my own journey of rebalance, because it allowed me then to kind of shift attention to something that I had a real passion for, which I didn't have in my teens or my 20s. It's something that really connected with me. And it was a beautiful journey because it allowed me then to continue in the making a living, have an income, sustain the lifestyle, but also begin to invest in myself. And that's what I felt was, a real, when I speak about pivot, that was a huge pivot for me, because it was a real tangible rebalancing of, the long working hours, and allowing myself to actually invest in myself in the inside, while balancing how I was actually meeting my own lifestyle needs and practical needs and practical life needs, So that led then over 6 years, and I'll cut it short to get to where we are today.
Here's a thing that I want to stop now, if that's okay, because you said something really powerful, and I don't want it to get lost in your beautiful message, was that you took small steps. Often when people listen in to shows like this, or watch channel, or listen to people like you, is to go like, yeah, but he went from a career all the way to this like holistic lifestyle. But there was initial small steps, and I think it's important to say, like, just by reading those books, you took the first step. That is something that everyone can do. Take the first step.
Oh yeah, no, so important. No, so important, Patrick. And I mean, I'll give you an example, because I get absolutely critical, and glad you kind of focus on this point, because my first step, one of my small first steps, was the book that you've mentioned. But then the next step after that was cutting out Coca-Cola, cutting out soft drinks. And that for me, like, I drink a lot of soft drinks, a lot of Coke, and a lot of sugar going into the body. And as I was reading some of the books, I became more aware of, or the environment that we're in. And one of the things was that I wasn't drinking enough water, and I eliminated soft drinks completely. And some people want to say, well, cut down, but I just decided to, I'm ready to make. And everyone makes up that decision for themselves. Another small step I made at the time was to spend some time in the gym we had here in Hewlett Packard. And they were two specific things that addressed kind of putting on weight, and addressed me really allowing myself time to actually begin that journey of reading the books, doing some practical things on the diet side, and doing some practical things on the exercise side. So very small things. So important, Patrick. So really thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah.
No, but because that's kind of the thing always when I hear people going like, but that's a huge change, and I go, yeah, but it started with one small step.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
And anyone who's listening into this who resonates with what you are saying, it's like the powerful message is it's just one small step to start with.
Absolutely. I mean, so I never thought at that stage this was going to go anywhere where I am now on the journey. So it's so important and so right, because at that stage I never, no inkling of any idea that I was going to be creating a business out of this, maybe just 10 years or so later, so it's a purely incremental, evolving journey,
Yes, and everyone can take that step.
Yeah.
Everyone can take that one step, and it'll lead wherever it'll lead to, and like trusting that.
Exactly. And it's back to that word allowing that comes up in Step Away for a Day, just allowing and trusting, like, exactly. And just, the breath, we'll talk maybe a bit about that later as well, but the power of breath, and that as a tool as well to actually just a breath to slow and give you the opportunity to take stock and to act and decide what might be something that serves you better. Even one small thing, so it's so powerful. Small things can make such a huge difference,
I remember sharing that with someone, like, when you're in, someone who drives a lot for work and for a living. And I said, every time you come at a red light, and I got that from people like you and Malia and all that. When he comes to a red light now, he goes, and that's how, and he said it made a huge difference to his day. But just doing that every time he stops at the red light, it's kind of simple things like that. Right?
But it's so powerful, exactly. But it comes back to often the simple things we take for granted can be really, really very powerful,
So we were talking about taking small steps, which obviously leads me to Step Away for a Day, which is like the retreat. Can I call it a retreat? Would that be fair enough? No? Okay. You call it whatever it is then, Seamus.
Yeah, you call it whatever it is. You call it a space and time to reconnect.
Okay.
Retreat for me carries maybe some connotations with religious overtones and stuff.
Okay. Definitely is not that.
It's not that. It's time for you to reconnect. I mean, that for me, it's a day away where you're thinking. So where the idea originally came from was me just actually reflecting one day and thinking, oh, there's so much going on. I wish I could just take a day out. And then it just came to me in an instant, I wish you could just step away for a day. And that's really ultimately where it came from. Just giving yourself that time and space, as we've just been talking about, like in the instant of a breath, and just extending to a full day of a lot of the day is about taking time to breathe and connect and to journal about what really is important to you right through the day. So that's the process of step away for dates. It's a space, it's creating space and time for you to really, really take stock and connect about what really matters most in your life. And that is in essence what happens on the day, and really a core part, you well aware, Patrick, a core part of what happens on the day is hugely, hugely important, is around giving yourself that space and time to breathe, to connect, check in with yourself, and really ask yourself the questions that we often don't take time to ask ourselves. Yes. And then it's really a huge, fundamentally important part of Step Away for a Day, and inherent in the whole design of when it was developing Step Away for a Day is not just what happens on the day, but more importantly, what happens after the day. And it's taking actions, what we just spoke about, even a small action, that something that comes up for you in that space and time with some more clarity. And that's one of the key words that happens on the day as well, is clarity. Okay. It's kind of light bulb going off time. And they are the actions, are insights that are coming up for people, that we invite people to journal in their workbook before they leave at the end of the day. Here's something I'm ready to commit to now in a tangible, practical way. That blends in with the busy life people are living. So you're going back, you're taking a break from that busy, chaotic life for a day. You're going back into that busy world. And it's about finding some starting point for achieving balance as you walk back out into that world, and using those one or two actions that you identify to begin to integrate them into your small steps, like going for a walk or cutting out or reducing the drinks or whatever it is you decide that comes up for you, you know.
So you mentioned 3 stages. I don't know if you're aware of that, of the day. One was breathing, the second one was connecting with self, and the third one was reflecting, right? Let's go through them shortly, briefly, one by one. You mentioned breathing quite a bit now so far in this chat. So I know you're a heart math coach or expert, so and that leads into what you do in Step Away for a Day. So how are we breathing wrong?
I think we all breathe naturally. We breathe to stay alive, honestly. So we're all breathing in different ways, and there's thousands of ways. If you go and look up breathing techniques on Google, you'll find like millions of different breathing mechanisms, ways of coaches will advise you to breathe or breathe better, breathe more effectively, and breathe in a way that's helping you to connect in a more, I suppose, settled way. So when you allow yourself time and space, not just shallow breathe or breathe in a way that and often we're overwhelmed and we're shallow breathing, we're not breathing properly, or we're not giving our bodies the proper supply of oxygen or the balance of oxygen within ourselves. And by just taking a couple of deeper than normal breaths, and what I found for me is that heart focused breathing, because for me and the science behind HeartMath, and HeartMath it's a global organization, HeartMath. They've been around for many, many years. And if you want to learn more, it's heartmath.org, heartmath.org. Huge amount of research that they've got going around the whole technique. But HeartMath is underpinned, the science behind HeartMath is really around heart rate variability and our breath as the master regulator of our whole physiology. So breath, when you begin to focus and develop and practice heart-focused breathing, which is balanced breathing for about 4 or 5 seconds on your in-breath, 4 or 5 seconds on your out-breath, deeper than normal breaths, I found that was just personally the mechanism that worked for me, and I'm a huge advocate for that. But I would encourage anyone to go and explore what breathing mechanism works best for them. But I'm a huge, huge advocate of heart-focused breathing, because it's that physiological regulation, but it's also the regulation of the connection, literally opening the door to your heart and encouraging and opening up a conversation, honestly, with your heart. And that for me is a powerful part of what HeartMath is all about. It's about the physiological slowing through the breath, but the connection, actually opening the door to allowing ourselves to connect with those reflections that are part of that process you were talking to as well, you know.
So when I was, I can't remember, was it September or October last year when I joined you for Step Away for a Day in Portarlington? That's still where you're doing it, I think.
That's it. Yeah, a lovely location there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. That for me, it was. I was actually, and everyone does this differently, probably. That joins you for Step Away for a Day, but I was consciously breathing into my heart muscle.
Yeah.
Right. Just like conscious or subconsciously, but I was doing it consciously, like feeling that breath going into the heart muscle. And what you did then is you go to the second part, which is connecting, which you asked very short but powerful questions for us to then connect with ourselves and reflect on. That's basically how the first morning goes. Have I?
Yeah. There's 3 core reflections. So we invite people to slow, feel safe. It's limited to 6 people, so it's a beautiful small group, safe environment. That's the environment we want to create. So people are feeling they're in a space where they're feeling disconnected from the world. They're feeling more connected to here. So the Step Away for a Day is about your relationship with yourself primarily, but it's also about the relationship you've got in this small, safe space with Pascal, who's assisting me with the vision board, which happens in the second part of the day. Pascal Lutz. We have a beautiful relationship going together in how we blend the morning activities, which is around breath, and the afternoon activities, which is around the vision board. But focusing on the breath and the reflections. There's 3 core reflections in the morning, through all based on heart focused breathing. So connection to heart. So reflection 1, journal, reflection with the group, and people are invited to share anything, or there's no obligation if they want to share. And we found that's a beautiful part of the process, because when people do share, there's a Me Too effect that goes on, that other people join in the conversation and the reflection as well. So powerful, as I hope you experienced as well. Yes. And then the second reflection, and then the third reflection in a very similar way.
Yeah, and what I found powerful myself was that while you reflect afterwards together in group, there's a space for me to step away and reflect by myself.
Yeah.
Which I did actually when I was there. I actually physically stepped out of the room and just went somewhere else and just reflected on what was happening. So I thought that was powerful. And you mentioned then that's the morning session. And then in the afternoon, you work with a friend of our radio station and radio channel. Pascal Lutz from Cork. And she does a vision board around that then,
Yeah. So really, that's a beautiful part of the process, because in the morning, you've got a chance to kind of reflect and journal and write down, or doodle, or whatever it is that you want to do, how you want to capture whatever's coming up for you through those questions. And then the afternoon is really a consolidation of all that in a visual way. So, like an image paints 1,000 words.
Yes.
And it's picking images through the vision board process that Pascal guides us all through. And I participate in each of those sessions myself as well. They're so powerful for me personally. But I learned an awful lot through those sessions with Pascal too, because it's allowing me more clarity, more connection with what's going on within myself. So I'm learning all the time as well as everyone else, to be quite honest with you. And it's a beautiful process, because it encourages everyone to really consolidate, and it's fresh in the morning, fresh in our minds, in our bodies from what's happened in the morning, that then we pick images, we pick words and paste them into a beautiful vision board that people take away with them at the end of the day. And it's a real reinforcement, a real embodiment of what's happened for a person. And it's a real reminder and anchor for people. You've got the journals to take away, you've got the vision board to take away, and that's really is your reminder, as well as me having a one-to-one conversation with people afterwards around, how did the day go? What is your action? How is it going? And really encouraging people to continue on and persevere with whatever their commitment has been out of the day as well. So the resources are there to really encourage people to follow through and not forget about what has come up,
So 2 things from that is, like, one, it was fun. Is the second part, because it hadn't been since childhood that I'd done a collage, right?
Yeah.
So that was fun, cutting stuff out of magazines and whatever. There's a fun aspect to this, there's a lighter aspect to this as well, other than like the reflections and because it sounds serious, but it's not. It was actually light. I felt lighter at the end of the day. I didn't feel like I had done some heavy lifting and heavy work. And So it was very light, so it was fun. But the second thing then you said is, often when I go to workshops or whatever, the workshop's over, that's it, you're gone. You
Yeah.
put stuff into the press and
Exactly.
and you'll wait 3 months and you'll do another one. Whereas
Yeah.
you actually follow up with people afterwards, James.
Exactly. And when say I've got my vision board here in front of me at the moment, I'm just grabbing it just as an
Okay,
example.
cool.
So
Yeah.
I think
For the people on the YouTube channel, yeah.
so there's just an example like of, you know,
Yes.
what's your body telling you space. So that's my last vision board. And again, it's just it gives an idea. It's really, really powerful way of as an anchor, as a reminder, like exactly what you're describing there. To you know, you've had the day, but it doesn't end on the day. This is only the beginning, you know, of you to actually act from what feels right for you to act on, from the heart, you know.
Yeah. So now tell us, Seamus, where do people find out when the next one is on? And is there a website? Is there a
We've got a lovely landing page called stepawayforday.ie, or you can go to stepawayforday.com. So all one word, step away for a day, all one word.com or .ie. We've got 2 domains, and that points back to my webpage. But they'll find everything they want to know about what happens on the day and how they can register as well.
And when it's on, etc., etc.
And when it's on as well. At the end of that page, we've got dates for currently the 4th of February is the next one.
The 4th of February, that's soon, guys. So
yeah, exactly. And
there's only 6 places, right? There's only 6 places at these events.
There's only 6 places. And again, we're filling those right from the beginning of this year. We've been enrolling. So again, if you want to learn more, and there's details on the website. Just if you want to learn more, have a conversation like you and I are having, I'd be more than happy to have that conversation with people as well, because that is actually part of the process. Of everyone who comes to Step Away for Day. I really, really create time and space as part of the whole process to meet every person who comes before they actually show up on the day itself as well.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask you a few questions relating to what I talk about now, Seamus, if that's okay with you.
Okay, no problem.
We often talk about success in life. I get about 50 emails a week with, I can deliver you success, 10x your business, under target, like I'm going to deliver you 50 clients a week. I'm going to so success is something different for everyone. For me, success is having a life while making a living. What is success to Seamus Power?
Oh, well, for me, success is the feeling I get when I'm actually assisting people, you know, and again, that's my primary intention now after my whole journey, everything we've talked about today is allowing people to be themselves. I mean, say when I'm working with the client and I feel they've made a breakthrough as regards, you know what, they were living out in this external world without, you know, being judgmental or respecting everyone's journey, because we all have our own journey. But I think there's great opportunity for most people to rebalance and blend and reconnect with really what's going on inside. And that's my mission now in my work and in my life. And my definition of success is related to that. So when I really feel that I'm opening a door for people to connect with themselves, that for me is what success is all about now at this stage of my life, is allowing people to really be themselves, show up as themselves, take a stand for what really matters within themselves. And then, you know, obviously getting a payment for that is the side effect of that. But for me, my mission is allowing more and more people to be that ripple effect for change within themselves. And then when they're experiencing that themselves, I mean, so that's my job done, because that is success for me, because they're then allowing themselves to be different people for themselves, but for everyone else they touch as well.
And it's just for them then to express that version of success.
Exactly.
In the external world, right?
Exactly. And that's precisely it. Because I mean that's my work done really, because it's the ripple effect takes effect automatically then from there. So once you're showing up for yourself automatically within yourself, that's my job done, honestly. And then you know, for me, it's so satisfying when people demonstrate and share. I get it now. Something is different. And they experience, and it's about experience. It's experiential, and they sense something is different. And when they're sensing that and feeling that, they can't help but transmit and
express.
And I was going to use the word. Infect other people, but I say it in the proper sense of the word. But it becomes infectious when they are showing up from their true authentic selves. They just show up differently to other people as well, you know.
Yeah, so that ripple effect you talked about is there, and it just
yeah.
So the second thing that I keep repeating ad nauseum, nearly, is having a life while making a living, because that's kind of my version of success. if you hear those words, having a life while making a living, what would that mean to you personally?
Yeah, I think it ties in very close to what we've just spoken to. You know what I mean? It's about looking after your own needs first, and really being clear. And it's back to clarity, back to one of those words that came up like for me in my own journey about eventually when I began to actually take stock. We think sometimes we're out here and everything is good and we're making a living, but we're not really happy.
Yes.
And for me, my journey probably is maybe somewhat of a definition of what your service is right now, Patrick, because it's allowing people to really take stock and to figure out, well, what is it that I have a passion for that is more naturally going to be a better fit for me to feel happy, make a living from, and feel that I can step away from doing something that it meets a need, but I'm not really enjoying it. And for me, that's not a great recipe for a happy life. Is this idea of, well, I'm doing a job but I'm not really enjoying it. That for me is something that's not living really, and I think you probably get that as well. Maybe with your clients, is encouraging people to understand, like, definitely we have a tangible life. We need income. We have a lifestyle that we're so used to maintaining, but to reflect on how we can actually maybe just blend that and back to that step away word of what you're currently doing, and to find a better blend of how you're coming from and being happier from within yourself, in blending that into creating a living as well, in terms of creating income.
Yeah, and that having a life part as well, like, can mean so much more. Like, for me, it means walking the dog, it means running, it means being outdoors, it means doing this radio show, it means engaging into other experiences of life other than just the work-related part. So thanks for sharing that. It's kind of about what you said, your passions, your values, discovering your strengths, and like living from those. So I'm going to ask you one more question, James, and then I'll let you go. And thanks for taking the time to be here. Give the people who are listening or watching this one tip that they can start implementing straight away. Okay,
so for me, the power of breath, and even simply not even going in and researching heart math, but just taking a deeper than normal breath, or doing 2 or 3 of those. So I'll just do one of them right now, 1 or 2 of them right now.
Sure.
Do that right away as you're watching this. And for me, it's a great process. And to become aware and to become notice when you're feeling a sense of overwhelm or stress, take time in 20 seconds to take those 2 breaths.
That's all it takes. For the people who are listening to the radio show, so it's like you're breathing in deeply, holding it, and then releasing.
For a second or 2.
For a second or 2, and then releasing it for 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nice, smooth, deeper than normal, and nice, smooth, relaxed out breath and exhale. Yeah.
So I know there's people who are going to listen or watching this and they say, like, I know he said stepawayforaday.ie and .com, but how can I reach Seamus?
Yeah, you can go to poweringhealth.ie as well. That's my website. And you can contact me as well on Seamus at poweringhealth.ie. So that's Seamus, SEAMUS.
Yes.
At poweringhealth.ie. So Powering Health, all one word as well. And you'll find all my details there on my homepage as well, my contact details if you want to give me a call.
Fantastic. And finally, thank you for coming. I encourage people to look up Step Away for a Day because it was really beneficial for me. And having experienced it, I know that most people that listen in here would get benefits from it as well. So Seamus, thank you for taking the time to come on the show and on the channel.
Yeah, thank you so much, Max. It's been a pleasure. I'm delighted. I'm really best wishes everything you're doing as well. And back to that blend. I know your own blend. It's an ongoing journey, and I think that goes back to what we mentioned earlier. It's about blend, and you're a living example of that as well, I think.
Thank you, and thanks for taking the time. Take care.
Thanks, Patrick. Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.